I'm Jess.
And I'm Evie. Welcome to Women in
Journalism.
Sorry, I forgot to say that.
Oh no, it's fine. So this is a more condensed version of the show because it was the journalism wars last night and some of us are still feeling a bit weak, aren't we, Evie?
A little bit fragile, not gonna lie.
And as you can see, also the auto cue is weak because we're using paper scripts instead. So
it gave up on us.
Yeah.
It is also our last show of this series and both of our last show on Quays, actually.
It's actually such a shame. I'm really sad.
It is actually very sad, so.
Yeah, but firstly we're joined by fellow Quays TV presenters Grace and Emma, who have their own show, Blabbermouth, and they've just finished their first year at uni here, haven't you?
Yeah. Mental. Honestly, I can't believe we've made it through first year.
Yeah, it's a relief.
It's gone really fast though.
Yeah.
I think that's the scariest thing. It's going to come like third year, it's going to come fast. I can just tell. But I've loved it. I'm glad all our assignments are handed in.
Yes.
And I'm excited for next year.
Yeah, I think I'm excited to have a break as well because it's very if you get like a break at Christmas and Easter and that, but you're like, oh, I've got work to do.
First
but
year
now
summer's
we're
always
just
great as well.
Yes, I'm so excited. Well, this is probably going to be my last summer at home because I've got a job up here now.
Yeah.
So they've said to me that this summer I can go home, but then next summer I was like, I kind of like gonna have to be in Manchester. So this is my summer at home to go on holiday and just to be free. Have no money, but
this is why you've got a job.
Yeah. No, actually, to be fair, I have my job when I go back. Like I'm very lucky, but I'm just gonna travel and enjoy myself.
Yeah.
And not have work to do, which is so good.
Yeah. So
I'm excited.
You both study broadcast journalism, obviously.
Yeah.
So why do you like it so much? Why did you choose to study it?
Oh,
that's a good question,
that is a good question. I mean, for me, it's like the whole reason of becoming a journalist is to give people a voice. So, like, a lot of people feel like they'll not be heard and stuff like that. So, just being like a bit of an advocate for them and getting their story out is like the whole purpose of why I wanted to be a journalist, because I think it's just so important. And I chose a broadcast role. I'll throw a bit of presenting in there as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
might as well. Mine's a bit more like haphazard how I got into journalism. I didn't apply for journalism at all. I applied for media and performance. I wanted to do performing, and then I got my results back and I did a lot better than I expected. And I was like, I don't really want to do performing anymore. But I loved like telling people stories through acting and that sort of thing. I loved talking to people. And people had always been like, you'd be really good at journalism. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then I had my interview on the day, was like, I might as well apply. I was sure I wasn't going to come and do journalism. Got in, and I love it. And I love, like the thing is I love about journalism and why I want to do it now is similar to you really, but it's like, it is like hearing people's stories. It's so interesting. Yeah. I've learned so much from so many different people this year, like just through talking to them and just by like publishing their stories and writing. I've learned a lot about myself as well from like listening to people's stories and like relating to different people. So I think I want to continue learning because I think it's a really fun career to have where I never will stop learning. Yeah. So
is that what you love about it so much?
Like, yes. To answer the question.
Really
to answer the question, yes, I love learning about new things about myself and about other people.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, amazing. So who are your female role models in the industry?
Oh, this is a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of relates back to our first assignment where we had to write about a journalist. So I remember writing the assignment. I'm going to say Victoria Derbyshire because she, again, like I looked into her past and she became a journalist for the same reason I wanted to, because of the voice, like wanting to give people a voice, because she knew what it was like not to have a voice. She had a rough childhood and stuff like that, and I think how she's gone from there to where she is now, it's just phenomenal. So definitely Vicky D.
For me, it'll be, I mean, it's quite basic, but Emily Maitlis. I think she's just an amazing journalist. I'm not sure whether I'm going to go down a similar route, but I just respect her so much. Like her interviews are just so powerful. Like you can't help but like be taken aback a bit by like what she does, and you can't deny that she's just really good. So
Definitely.
Yeah, that would be my journalist inspiration really.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having us on.
Grace Mailey is a journalist at BBC Radio 5 Live after studying at Salford. She spoke to Abby Titmus earlier this week about being a female journalist in sports and why there should be more women in the field.
Thank you very much for joining me. Why why did you first decide to pursue a career in journalism?
So when I was 15, I did a work experience placement at LFC TV, which is, for anyone who doesn't know, it's Liverpool Football Club's TV channel. So I was really lucky to get an opportunity to go there, and that was way before I came to uni. I think I was in year 10, so it was like the end of secondary school. Absolutely loved it. It was really hands-on experience. So I got to like go out and interview players, and I was shadowing a camera crew, and I was floor managing, and you know, I was doing a lot like things people that are older than me would do now. And I absolutely loved it. It was just the best experience. And then afterwards, I was like, oh, I didn't really know what I wanted to do still. I was a bit unsure, but I thought, you know what? I want a job that I can enjoy. And I absolutely loved my time at LFC TV, and I went back during sixth form and did like the odd shift there. So then when I was in sixth form, I was actively looking at universities that did journalism, because I was like, that is what I want to do. And like, journalism's such a broad thing in terms of there's so many different roles that you're not often told about, or you know, like through Quays and through Salford now you learn about all these different things, but when you're just doing your university degree you don't often know how many other, like, you just think the role is a news reporter and that's it. You don't actually think that there's other options to go into. So yeah, I just started looking at journalism courses at uni and then just went from there really.
And why did you decide to specialise in sport? It sounds like you sort of had a clear direction from the very beginning.
Yeah, so I've always been a Liverpool fan. I've got a season ticket at Anfield. I love football. And I'm quite interested in a lot of other sports. Like, I used to swim. I'd always watch the Olympics when the Olympics was on telly. Like, just a broad... Like, I watch the tennis as well. It's just a broad, like, variety of sports that I'm into. And I just thought... I want it to be fun. I don't want, for me, like, I enjoyed the news reporting side of things at uni, but I often felt like it was a bit too heavy for me, and I'm quite a light-hearted person, and I wanted, all right, there's some serious sides of sport, but I wanted it to be fun and I wanted it to be enjoyable, so that was why I picked sport over, like, news, really.
And what are some of the challenges of being a sports reporter sort of in the industry?
To be honest, like, I'm quite lucky in the sense that, so I work at 5 Live Sport. Our department is quite 50-50 split men and women. And I think that's quite good, because that's not the case in a lot of other departments. I can only speak for us really, but like, I did some work experience at Granada, and I know that sports team is 3 men. So there's a lot of places that are still, and local radio is quite like male heavy as well, definitely on the sport teams. So I think that's one of the challenges, is that actually now sport is male and female in all different sectors, not just football. It's like athletics, 50-50 split, tennis, cricket, badminton. Do you know what I mean? It's so male and female mix that I think as the journalist department needs to reflect the sport that it's covering. So that, I say that is a challenge. I think the industry still needs to be a bit more diverse. I don't think it's quite branched out to that yet. But our department is certainly one of the like trailblazers in that we are 50-50 split. Sometimes in the office there's more women than men. And I just think that's amazing for sport when we know that it's male dominant really.
And what do you think would be some of the consequences of women not broadcasting and not being part of the conversation around sport?
Well, I just don't think it'd be fair. Like, you're reporting on sport, you need to have some sort of idea about, like, the broadcasting of the sport needs to represent the sport itself. So if you've got no women, like female players, for example, might not want to speak to a male journalist about their periods or about, you know, issues that women go through that meant, like, I don't know, maternity leave, or do you know what I mean? Female sports athletes might feel like they can't talk to a male journalist about that. So I just think it's quite important that we fully represent the sports that we're covering.
And do you think there's enough conversation about getting young girls involved in sports reporting, and not just sort of being a sports journalist, but everything around sports in the media industry?
I think when I was at school, it was definitely a conversation where I told one of our careers advisors that I wanted to work in media. I said media on the whole. She was like, it's very unrealistic, it's never going to happen. I think it's still, the media is still this industry where you obviously need to be clever, but I think it's put on a pedestal a bit, and it's like, it doesn't seem real. Like, your natural goals of career are like doctor, nurse, teacher, blah, blah. When I said I want to be a journalist, it was like, well, that's never going to happen. And actually, it is so possible. Like, I've come from a working class background, and I now work for the BBC, and that used to be unheard of years ago. but now it's obviously like it's a common thing, and everyone, there's so many people that are the same as me in the industry. So I think young girls do need to be encouraged to get into broadcasting, and especially sports journalism. But what people need to realise is that it's common. Like, there's so many women in our industry, and it's a very welcoming place, and it's not this place where it's male dominated. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's definitely become more open as time's progressed. Yeah.
And growing up, did you have any female inspirations?
I love Gabby Logan. I actually met her 3 weeks ago, and I was so starstruck, and I had a guest's pass wrapped around my hand. She went to shake my hand, and I was like, oh, my pass is stuck. But yeah, like, I just think she's amazing in terms of the way that she comes across on camera. She's such a natural broadcaster. So like, when I was younger, I definitely looked up to her. And it's people like that really that show you that like what you want to do is possible, and people that are like on the radio, on telly, that you can look up to and think, you know, that's what I want to do. And there's also so many roles behind the camera as well, and like, so I work in radio production, so there's so many producers. Like, you can be a producer, you can be a floor manager, you can be a director, you can be an editor assistant, do you know what I mean? There's so many different roles that you can go into that I think it's women in sport is now a lot more common than what it was. And I think that's so good for the industry
So, unlike
itself.
Emma and Grace, we've just finished our degree. How are you feeling now it's all over, Jess?
Well, the actual handing in of the final project itself was really anticlimactic for me, because it was literally just pressing submit. But I think it really hit me like the day after, and I was like, wow, I can't believe it's all over now. It's surreal, really. But what about you?
Well, I submitted today, so I haven't had that like relief yet.
Yeah.
But I did think the same. It's anticlimactic. It's a bit bittersweet actually. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of, you're glad like obviously that relief and like the stress is gone, but I'm also just kind of, it's like what's the next step, you know?
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, the first thing I thought on the Saturday after, because I submitted last Friday, was I have to find a job now.
Yeah.
But it's all about, like, obviously we just saw Grace talking about the sort of challenges that women have in journalism. So
exactly.
I mean, stuff about sports especially. There are no women that do sports-related journalism at all, really. And I know that you know quite a lot about that, don't you?
Yeah, actually, and like, I've not had like the greatest experience. Like, probably the positive outweighs the negatives, but like once I was reporting a Salford City game and I was in the press box, and so obviously I was the only woman there, and there was a guy to the side of me who probably been in the industry a long time, and he would go around me to ask the guy next to me questions about football, and he did it a few times, and I was a bit like, okay, and then he kept doing it, and a few of these questions the guy sat next to me this side had no idea, and like I was like, oh, it was this player that scored. He just kind of looked at me and went, oh, all right then. It's kind of like, but hopefully that's just a one-off, you know?
Yeah.
But what about you? Obviously being a woman, and obviously you're interested in the tech side. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's very male-dominated. I mean, I've got work experience at ITV in a few weeks, and I'm a bit worried because I have been allowed to go up into the gallery, and I'm not like worried, but I'm wondering just how many women will be in there, because obviously most of the tech staff here at least are men. All of the broadcast engineers and stuff are men, so they know they're into all of that sort of side. So, you know,
Yeah.
but, you know, so.
No, and I think obviously when I've been on work experience as well, that is what I found is tech, and it is men. So like, hopefully, obviously it'll be fine, and there'll be fellow women who you can like share your experience with.
Yeah, but so obviously today's episode is Women in Journalism. So who's your like female inspiration in journalism?
That's quite a hard question,
It
because
is.
I feel like, especially at Salford Junior, we are surrounded by so many amazing women in the industry, but I think, like I said, I do kind of have an interest in sport. So I'd say Claire Balding, I think.
Really?
I think she's just one of them. She's an overall, as in, I feel like she can do everything. Like, you see her at the horses, and then you like the Olympics, and she knows her knowledge. And I like that about her. It's kind of seeing that you can go into anything. You obviously, she's got a talent, but she just does her research, and I do really respect that. But what about you?
Mine's a bit historical, so mine is Ida B. Wells, And like Grace Emma was saying earlier, that essay you do in first year, I wrote mine on Ida B. Wells.
Oh, really?
And she was a black woman in America during the civil rights movement, and she campaigned against slavery, and she wrote her own newspaper about it, sort of campaigning for like the ending of slavery, and she wrote about lynchings that she had seen, and she was like kind of an investigative journalist. And I'm not particularly interested in the investigative side, but it's just the things she did was so amazing, especially considering she was a woman and a black one at that, and doing all of that stuff in the south of America as well, which is really interesting to me. But I've got her book, and I've got in the book it's got like the extracts that she wrote, and it's really interesting, some of the things she wrote about. It's really amazing. She's really inspiring, yeah.
I might have to like research about her then, because I have no idea about that.
Yeah.
Well, that's all we have for today's show and this series of Women In.
It's a shame. But have a lovely summer, and don't forget that you can watch all the episodes of Women In and Blabbermouths on the Quays TV YouTube channel. Goodbye.
Bye.